Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so if you're keeping an eye on aerospace stocks, today we're focusing right in on Rocket Lab USA, that's ticker RKLB.
Yep.
Our mission really is to just unpack the facts for investors. We want to understand how Rocket Lab is trying to shift its strategy, its business model.
And what fueled that, well, that pretty strong stock rally we saw late last year in 2025.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that move away from being just a high-risk launch company to something more like a diversified space infrastructure player. It's really the core idea here, isn't it?
It seems to be.
Rocket Lab, founded back in 2006, HQ'd in Long Beach now. Their whole brand has been about, responsive, relatively cost-effective space access.
And they do this with a kind of two-part approach.
That's right, a dual business model.
Yeah.
And that's their key advantage, their moat.
Okay, let's break that down. First, the launch side. That's the Electron rocket, right?
Electron. Highly reliable, small left, we're talking about 300 kilograms, give or take, to EO. Low Earth orbit.
And it's got a serious track record. What is it, over 50 successful launches?
Yeah, over 50. It's actually the second most frequently launched rocket from the U.S., right behind SpaceX's Falcon 9. Pretty impressive for its class.
Wow, okay. But the big buzz, the future growth story, that seems tied entirely to Neutron.
Oh, absolutely. Neutron is the next big thing for them. It's their medium-lift rocket, designed to be reusable.
Reusable, okay. How much can it lift?
The target is up to 13 tons to LEO, so a significant step up.
13 tons.
And what's really interesting is that Neutron is Rocket Lab basically saying, we're going after that mid-tier market. They're trying to replicate SpaceX's reusability success, but for, those medium-sized payloads.
To bring costs down for things like satellite constellations, maybe?
Exactly. Constellations, national security payloads, that's the target market.
Okay, so launch is one side. But you mentioned a buffer, something to offset the risk. That's the Space Systems division.
Precisely. Space Systems. This is increasingly important. It provides a high-margin, often recurring revenue stream.
And you hear a lot about vertical integration. Why is that such a big deal here?
Well, think of it like this. They're not just selling the launch, which can have thin margins. They're also selling the components for the satellites being launched, the razor and the blade, essentially. So Space Systems make satellite components, buses, sometimes even entire spacecraft for big clients. NASA's used them, Lockheed Martin.
Right.
And this part of the business, it's now bringing in, over half their total revenue?
For 50%, yeah.
So that gives them supply chain control, predictable income.
Yeah.
Things that pure launch companies often struggle with.
So RKLB is kind of carving out this niche. Nimbler than the old guard, maybe cheaper for certain missions, but not trying to be SpaceX with its huge rockets.
That seems to be the strategy, more focused on dedicated launches for specific customers.
And this whole picture, the strategy, it seems to be what drove that stock rally in Q3 and Q4 of 2025. But let's talk Neutron risk again. Engine tests are one thing, but building a whole new rocket, especially reusable, isn't that still a massive execution challenge?
Oh, it absolutely is. That's the number one risk, no question. But those successful engine tests, they were crucial. They reduced the perceived execution risk for investors. Tangible progress. That was kind of catalyst one for the rally.
Okay, tangible progress. What else?
Catalyst two was contracts.
Yeah.
Really strong wins from the DoD, from NASA, and critically, securing a place in the U.S. Space Force's big launch program, NSSL Phase 3.
The National Security Space Launch Program, getting in there alongside SpaceX and ULA, that's like graduating to the big leagues for defense contracts.
Exactly. It's a huge vote of confidence and provides much better visibility into future government revenue.
Makes sense. And the third piece driving the rally.
That was the financials themselves, Catalyst 3. The Q2 and Q3 results last year, they showed losses were narrowing, gross margins were getting better.
Signs of heading towards profitability.
Right. And that fueled optimism, that the business model could actually work financially in the near term, which helps explain why the stock was trading around, 5 or 6 times forward revenue late last year. There's optimism baked in.
Which brings us to the crucial question for anyone looking at RKLB now. What's the fine print? If the market's already pricing in some Neutron success, what are the main downside risks?
Well, like we said, Neutron execution risk is number one. If that timeline slips significantly, or if reusability proves way harder or more expensive than planned, the market won't like that.
Sure.
You also can't totally ignore price pressure from SpaceX, even with their rideshare model versus RKLB's dedicated mission focus. Competition is always a factor.
Dependency on government contracts, too, maybe?
That's always a risk for companies in this space, yeah. But the outlook, if Neutron works out, It's pretty clear. Rocket Lab could genuinely become, maybe the third major global launch player behind SpaceX and ULA.
Shifting from just a small sat niche player to a much broader space industrial company.
That's the potential transformation.
So wrapping this up, the investment case really hangs on this blend of vertical integration, the space systems buffer, and this strategic bet on Neutron for mid-lift and defense work. So the final thought, maybe, for you, the listener, the investor, think about how much that growing space systems segment really cushions the inherent ups and downs, the risks of the launch business. Is that diversification, which is now half the revenue, truly enough to balance out the, let's face it, high execution risk still tied to getting Neutron flying reliably and affordably?
That's the key question. That's the balance investors need to keep weighing with RKLB.